Colonel Kim Do-hyun led his Marines through the dark streets of the Keith capital city, searching for Commander Vex. The alien who had murdered the Healing Dawn crew was hiding somewhere in the maze of buildings and tunnels Earth scanners were tracking, heat signatures and electronic devices. The Keth civilians cowered in their homes as human soldiers marched past. Their windows were dark and their doors were locked tight. They had heard about the destruction of their space fleet and knew that resistance was hopeless. 3 days after the battle, Marines found Vex hiding in an underground bunker beneath the old palace. He was surrounded by stolen medical equipment from the Healing Dawn, including computers that could have saved thousands of lives. The Keth commander tried to fight when the Marines broke down his door, but human weapons stunned him before he could draw his plasma rifle. Colonel Do-hyun looked at the alien who had laughed while killing innocent doctors and felt only disgust. Vex was brought before Admiral Yoon Tae-ho on the bridge of the Righteous Fury. The alien commander stood in chains while the admiral read the charges against him: murder of medical personnel, destruction of a mercy mission, and theft of humanitarian supplies. Dr. Kim Hana had been brought to the flagship to identify her crewmate's killer. She looked at Vex with tears in her eyes and confirmed that he was the one who had ordered the attack on the Healing Dawn. Her voice shook as she spoke. The admiral asked Vex if he had anything to say for himself. The Keth commander spat on the floor and said that humans were weak fools for trying to help other species. He showed no regret for murdering the medical crew. Admiral Tae-ho sentenced Vex to death for war crimes against humanity. The execution would be broadcast across Keth space so that every alien would see what happened to those who attacked human healers. Meanwhile, on the planet's surface, human engineers were examining the stolen medical equipment. Most of it was damaged, but some could still be repaired. The technology would be returned to Earth and used to save lives as originally intended. Captain Shin Kyung-ho received new orders from Earth Command. The human fleet would establish a permanent base in Keth space to prevent future attacks on medical missions. 3 destroyers would remain as a garrison force. The Keth government was forced to sign a peace treaty that included massive payments to the families of the murdered crew members. Every Keth world would pay taxes to Earth for the next 50 years to cover the cost of the war. More importantly, the treaty required the Keth to spread word throughout their region of space that human medical ships were under the protection of the Earth fleet. Any attack on healers would result in immediate military retaliation. News of the human victory traveled quickly across the galaxy. Alien species that had never heard of Earth suddenly became very interested in these powerful newcomers. The destruction of the Keth Empire in a single day was unprecedented. Dr. Hana returned to the Vorthak colony aboard a new medical ship called the Eternal Mercy. This time she was escorted by 3 human destroyers commanded by Captain Park Hyejin. The sick aliens would receive their treatment under armed protection. The Vorthak people wept with joy when they saw Dr. Hana again. They had thought all the human healers were dead, and their own people were doomed to die from the plague. The doctor brought enough medicine to cure their entire planet. Within 1 week, the Vorthak plague was completely eliminated. Human medical technology had saved the entire species from extinction. The grateful aliens built a memorial to the crew of the Healing Dawn in their capital city. The monument was made of white stone and showed 12 human figures helping alien children. The names of Captain Park, Jinu, Dr. Choi Wook, Nurse Yang Sora, Engineer Nam Junho, and all the other crew members were carved in both human and Vorthak languages. Admiral Tae-ho established new protocols for all human medical missions. Every mercy ship would now travel with armed escorts. Humanity would continue to offer healing to any species that needed it, but never again would healers be defenseless. The Medical Protection Fleet was created with Captain Shin Kyung-ho as its first commander. His ships would patrol the galaxy, ensuring that human doctors, nurses, and medical technicians could work without fear of attack. Dr. Hana was promoted to Chief Medical Officer of the new fleet. She designed mobile hospitals that could be set up quickly on any planet. The facilities included the most advanced medical equipment that Earth could build. The Keth survivors learned to respect human power, but also human mercy. Earth could have destroyed their entire species, but chose only to punish those responsible for the attack. The contrast impressed many alien observers. Other species began requesting human medical assistance. Word spread that Earth healers could cure diseases that local doctors could not treat. The galaxy had never seen such advanced medical technology combined with genuine compassion. The Zephyrian Republic was the first major power to sign a medical cooperation treaty with Earth. Their people suffered from a genetic disorder that human gene therapy could fix. In exchange, they provided raw materials for medical equipment. The Altarian Federation followed with their own treaty requesting help with a virus that was affecting their agricultural worlds. Human scientists developed a cure in weeks that Altarian researchers had been working on for years. As human medical missions spread across the galaxy, they were always protected by warships. The combination of healing technology and military might made Earth the most respected power in known space. Admiral Taiho retired after establishing the Medical Protection Fleet. He had kept his promise to avenge the Healing Dawn crew and ensure that future healers would be safe. The galaxy was now a more peaceful place. Dr. Hana continued her work of healing across many worlds. She carried the memory of her murdered friends with her and made sure their sacrifice had meaning. Every life she saved honored their memory. The memorial services on Earth became annual events where people remembered the 12 heroes who died trying to help strangers. School children learned about their courage, and many decided to become doctors themselves. Captain Park's son joined the Space Navy as he had promised and eventually commanded his own medical escort ship. He followed his father's example of protecting those who could not protect themselves. Engineer Junho's family established a scholarship fund for young people who wanted to study medicine or engineering. The fund helped thousands of students who shared his dream of using technology to help others. The Keith Empire never recovered from their defeat. Their remaining worlds became peaceful. Trading partners with Earth young Keth who grew up after the war often became doctors and nurses inspired by human compassion. 5 years later, Dr. Hana stood on the bridge of the Eternal Mercy as it approached another planet with sick people needing help. 3 destroyers flew alongside her ship ready to protect the mission. She looked out at the stars and thought about her friends who had died on the Healing Dawn. Their dream of healing the galaxy had come true, but in a way they never expected. The galaxy was safer because Earth had shown both mercy and strength. The universe learned an important lesson that day. Humanity would offer friendship and healing to any species, but attack those healers, and Earth would respond with overwhelming force. The balance of compassion and power made the galaxy better. Dr. Hana smiled as her ship entered orbit around the new planet. Below were people who needed help, and she had the power to save them. The memory of the Healing Dawn crew lived on in every life that human medicine saved. The stars themselves seemed brighter knowing that healers could work in safety, and that those who would harm them faced the righteous fury of humanity. The galaxy had found its protectors and its healers in the same species. The Earth fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Keth home system like 50 angry gods. The righteous fury led the formation with Admiral Yoon Taiho standing on the bridge watching his revenge unfold. Captain Shin Kyung-ho gripped his command chair as the enemy system appeared on their screens. The Keith homeworld called Vecthar was a brown and red planet covered in industrial cities and military bases. 3 defense stations floated in orbit around it, bristling with weapons and shields. The aliens had built their defenses to stop small raiding fleets. Not the largest human armada in history, warning sirens began screaming across Vecthar as Keth sensors detected the massive Earth fleet. The alien commanders could not believe what they were seeing. 50 human warships had appeared in their system ready for total war. Admiral Taiho opened a communication channel to the Keth High Command. His voice was cold and hard as winter steel when he spoke to the aliens. He told them that Earth had come to avenge the murdered crew of the Healing Dawn. The Keth military leader, General Vorthak, laughed when he heard the message. He had never fought humans before and thought they were weak, peaceful creatures. The general ordered his defense stations to open fire and destroy the Earth fleet. The first Keth energy blast struck the human ship's shields and bounced off harmlessly. The alien weapons were primitive compared to Earth technology. Their plasma cannons barely scratched the advanced armor plating on the human warship's captain. Shin gave the order that every human had been waiting to hear. All ships were to fire at will and show no mercy to the aliens who had murdered innocent healers. The Keth would learn what happened when you attacked human mercy missions. The righteous fury fired first with its massive railguns. The tungsten projectiles traveled at incredible speed and slammed into the nearest defense station. The alien shields collapsed instantly, and the station broke apart like glass explosions lit up space as the human fleet opened fire with everything they had. Railguns, plasma cannons, and missile swarms struck the Keth defenses from every direction. The aliens had never seen such overwhelming firepower, Commander. Ko-Minsu coordinated the attack from the flagship. He had studied the Keth defense plans and knew exactly where to hit them. The human missiles found weak points in the station armor and tore them open like tin cans. The second defense station tried to retreat, but human destroyers surrounded it quickly. The Earth ships moved like wolves hunting prey, working together to bring down their target. The station commander begged for mercy, but received none. Captain Shin remembered Dr. Kim Hana's testimony about watching her friends die. The Keth had shown no mercy to the medical crew, so Earth would show no mercy to them. The defense station exploded in a ball of fire that could be seen from the planet's surface. The third and largest defense station was commanded by General Vorthak himself. He realized too late that the humans were not the weak creatures he had imagined. Their technology was decades ahead of Keth weapons, and their tactics were perfect. Human fighter squadrons led by Commander Park Soyeon swarmed around the station like angry bees. The small ships were too fast for the Keth point defense systems to track. They struck vital systems and flew away before return fire could hit them. The station shields began failing as human weapons found their targets. Generator rooms, communication centers, and weapon batteries were destroyed one by one. General Vorthak watched helplessly as his mighty fortress was torn apart. Admiral Taiho wanted the Keth commander to understand why this was happening. He transmitted images of the destroyed Healing Dawn and the bodies of the murdered medical crew. He told Vorthak that this was justice for attacking healers. The general finally understood the terrible mistake his people had made. The humans were not just angry about losing one ship, they were furious that someone had attacked their most sacred mission of healing and helping others. As the third defense station exploded, the Keth fleet tried to escape from their orbital bases. 20 alien warships launched from hidden docks hoping to flee before the humans could stop them. But Earth had planned for this. Human cruisers commanded by Captain Lee Jamin were waiting at the hyperspace jump points. The Keth ships ran straight into a trap and found themselves surrounded by superior firepower. The alien captains realized they were going to die. The space battle was completely one-sided. Human weapons destroyed Keth ships with ease, while alien plasma beams could barely damage Earth armor. The technological gap was so large that it was not really a fair fight, Captain. Shin watched the enemy fleet being destroyed and felt satisfaction mixed with sadness. The Keth were paying for their crime, but it would not bring back the innocent people they had murdered on the Healing Dawn. Some Keth ships tried to surrender, but Admiral Taiho had given strict orders. No prisoners would be taken until the aliens responsible for the massacre were found and punished. The Earth fleet would accept nothing less than complete victory. The battle moved to the planet's surface as human dropships launched from the fleet. Marines led by Colonel Kim Do-hyun landed near the capital city, ready to hunt down the raiders who had attacked the medical ship. The Keth ground forces were no match for human technology. Earth soldiers wore powered armor and carried weapons that could punch through tank armor. The alien defenders fled in terror as the Marines advanced. Colonel Do-hyun had one mission: find Commander Vex and his raiders who had murdered the Healing Dawn crew. Intelligence reports said they were hiding in the capital city counting their stolen medical equipment. The human Marines fought through the streets like an unstoppable force. Keth soldiers tried to set up ambushes, but Earth sensors could see through walls and detect hidden enemies. The aliens were fighting a war they could never win. News of the crushing defeat spread across Keth space. Other alien worlds that worked with the raiders began cutting all ties. They did not want to face the terrible wrath that Earth had unleashed on Vector. Admiral Taiho received reports that the orbital defenses were completely destroyed, and the planet was under human control. The space battle had lasted only 6 hours, but it felt like the longest day of his life. The Admiral thought about Captain Park and his crew who had died trying to save alien lives. They had shown the best of humanity while the Keth had shown the worst of themselves. Now justice was being served. Human ships began broadcasting surrender demands to the remaining Keth forces on the planet. The message was simple: hand over the raiders who attacked the Healing Dawn or face total destruction of their civilization. Some Keth leaders tried to negotiate, but Admiral Taiho refused to discuss terms until Commander Vex was captured. The alien who had laughed while murdering human healers would face human justice as the sun set on Vecthar, the planet, was completely under Earth control. 50 human warships controlled the space around it, and thousands of Marines occupied the major cities. The Keith Empire had fallen in a single day. The speed and completeness of the human victory shocked alien observers across the galaxy. Most species had thought humans were peaceful and weak. The destruction of the Keth showed everyone that Earth could fight when provoked. Captain Shin stood on the bridge of the righteous fury and looked down at the conquered planet below. Justice for the healing dawn was almost complete. They just needed to find the murderers and make them pay. Admiral Taiho sent a message to Earth reporting the successful operation. The Keth military was destroyed and the search for the raiders was beginning. The murdered medical crew would soon be avenged. The galaxy would remember this day as the moment when humanity proved that attacking their healers carried a price too terrible to pay. Admiral Yun Teho was drinking morning coffee in his office on Luna Station when the distress signal arrived. The weak transmission had traveled for 3 days across empty space, carrying the worst news he had ever received. The healing dawn was destroyed and 11 crew members were dead. The Admiral dropped his coffee cup and watched it shatter on the floor. He read Captain Park Gina's final message again, hoping he had misunderstood something, but the words were clear. Keth Empire raiders had attacked a medical ship and murdered everyone aboard. Taiho had known Captain Park for 15 years. They had served together during the border wars when humans first met hostile aliens. Park was the best ship captain in the Earth fleet and one of the most decent men alive. Now he was dead along with his crew. The Admiral called his aide commander Ko Minsu into the office. Minsu saw his commander's face and knew something terrible had happened. Taiho handed him the message and watched. The younger officer's expression changed from confusion to horror to burning anger. Commander Minsu had met Dr. Kim Hana at a medical conference 2 years ago. She had talked about her dream of healing sick aliens and making the galaxy more peaceful. Minsu remembered her bright smile and kind eyes. Now she was missing and probably dead. Admiral Taiho ordered all senior staff to the war room immediately. He wanted every fleet commander and intelligence officer on Luna Station within the hour. The Earth Defense Force had not mobilized for total war since the Centauri crisis. But that was about to change. Within 30 minutes, the war room was full of Earth military officers. The holographic display showed the location where the Healing Dawn had been destroyed. Admiral Taiho stood before the group and played Captain Park's final transmission. The room fell silent as they heard the captain describing the attack. The officers' faces grew dark with rage as they listened to the sounds of battle and death. Some of them had friends aboard the medical ship. Others had worked with the crew on previous missions. General Han Sungmin, commander of Earth Marine Corps, slammed his fist on the table. The Healing Dawn crew were heroes who risked their lives to help others. The Keth had murdered innocent healers and stolen medical technology meant to save lives. Admiral Taiho explained that this was not just an attack on one ship. It was an attack on everything humans believed in. The medical corps represented humanity's commitment to peace and healing. The galaxy needed to understand that such attacks would not be tolerated. Intelligence officer Lee Yuna reported on what they knew about the Keth Empire. The aliens were raiders who attacked weak ships and sold stolen technology. Their home system was located in the outer rim about 40 light-years from Earth. The Keth had a reputation for cruelty and cowardice. They only attacked targets that could not fight back properly. Medical ships, exploration vessels, and small colonies were their favorite targets. They had never faced the full military power of Earth. Commander Minsu suggested that they send a small battle group to punish the Keth raiders. But Admiral Taiho shook his head. This crime required a response that would be remembered across the galaxy. The Earth fleet would deploy in full force. News of the massacre began spreading across Earth. As the Admiral's staff contacted government leaders, President Bai Jiwan was attending a peace conference in Geneva when she received the call. Her assistant watched her face turn pale as she listened. President Bai immediately canceled the conference and returned to Seoul. She called an emergency session of the Global Council and prepared to address the world. The Healing Dawn had been Earth's symbol of peaceful cooperation, and its destruction would shock humanity. On Earth, protests began forming in major cities as news networks reported the story millions of people had donated. Money to support medical missions like the Healing Dawn. Citizens were furious that their tax money and charity had been stolen by alien pirates. In Seoul, angry crowds gathered outside the Keth Empire Embassy. The building was empty because the aliens had no permanent representatives on Earth. Most humans had never heard of the Keth before, but now everyone wanted revenge. Medical schools across Earth held memorial services for the fallen crew. Dr. Kim Hana had graduated from Seoul National University, where she was remembered as the most caring student in her class. Her professors wept as they spoke about her dedication to helping others. The families of the dead crew members were contacted by military officials. Captain Park's wife collapsed when she heard the news. Their teenage son swore that he would join the Space Navy and make the aliens pay for killing his father. Dr. Choi Wook's parents were elderly and did not understand why anyone would kill their son for trying to help sick people. Nurse Yang Sora's daughter was only 8 years old and kept asking when her mother was coming home. Admiral Taiho worked through the night planning the largest military operation in Earth history. He ordered every available warship to prepare for immediate deployment. The home defense fleet would stay to protect Earth, but everything else would join the attack. The flagship would be the Righteous Fury, Earth's newest and most powerful dreadnought. Captain Shin Kyung-ho was given command of the battle group. He was a veteran of 12 space battles and had never lost a single engagement. Captain Shin called his senior officers together and explained their mission. They would travel to the Keth home system and destroy every military target they could find. The aliens would learn that attacking human healers carried a terrible price. Chief Engineer Park Hyun-soo began preparing the ship's weapon systems. The railguns were loaded with tungsten projectiles that could punch through asteroid belts. The plasma cannons were charged with enough energy to vaporize enemy ships. The missile bays were filled with quantum torpedoes guided by artificial intelligence. Each weapon could track multiple targets and adjust its course during flight. The Keth would discover that human military technology was far superior to their own. Dr. Lee Sunmi reported that her rescue pod scanners had detected one survivor from the Healing Dawn. Dr. Kim Hana was alive, but trapped in the wreckage. Admiral Taiho immediately dispatched a fast rescue ship to find her. Meanwhile, the Earth fleet continued growing as ships arrived from colonies across human space. The battle group now included 50 warships, with more joining every hour. It was the most powerful military force ever assembled by humanity. News reporters were asking when the fleet would depart for Keth. Space Admiral Taiho told them that Earth would respond to the massacre, but gave no details. He wanted the attack to be a complete surprise. President Bae addressed the world from the Blue House in Seoul. She stood before cameras with tears in her eyes as she spoke about the murdered medical crew. These brave people had died trying to save alien lives, and their sacrifice would not be forgotten. The president announced that Earth would seek justice for the fallen heroes. The Keth Empire had made a grave mistake by attacking a mercy mission. Humanity would show the galaxy that such crimes carried consequences. As she spoke, the Earth fleet prepared for departure. 50 warships powered their engines and checked their weapon systems. The largest military operation in human history was about to begin. Admiral Taiho stood on the bridge of the Righteous Fury and looked out at his assembled fleet. Each ship represented the anger and determination of 8 billion humans. The Keth had awakened something terrible. He thought about Captain Park and his crew who had died trying to help strangers. The Admiral promised their memory that justice would be swift and complete. The Keth would learn why no one attacked human healers and lived. The rescue ship sent to find Dr. Hana reported that they had located her emergency pod. She was weak and traumatized, but alive. Her testimony about the cold-blooded murder of her friends would provide evidence of Keth war crimes. As the fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace, Admiral Taiho sent one final message to Earth Command. The Healing Dawn crew would be avenged, and the galaxy would remember what happened to those who attacked human mercy missions. Dr. Kim Hana stood at the big window of the medical room and looked out at the stars. Her heart was beating fast with excitement and worry. The ship called Healing Dawn was flying through space toward a planet that was far away from Earth. She had been dreaming about this moment for 3 years. The planet Kepler, 442b, looked beautiful from space. It was blue and green, just like Earth, but smaller. Hannah could see white clouds moving across the surface and 3 small moons dancing around it. She pressed her hand against the cool glass and smiled. This was why she became a doctor, to help people, even if they lived on different worlds. Captain Park. Genu walked into the medical room. His face looked serious, but his eyes were kind. He was a tall man with gray hair who had been flying ships for 20 years. He never lost a crew member and was proud of that record. The captain said to Hannah that they were getting close to the planet. The alien people called Vorthak were very sick, and their own doctors could not help them. A disease was killing many of them, especially the children. It spread fast like fire through their cities. Hannah nodded and checked her medical equipment one more time. She had brought the best medicine that Earth could make. The computers could scan any body and find what was wrong. The robot helpers could do surgery better than human hands. The cure machines could make any medicine in minutes. On the bridge navigator, Lee Dane was reading the alien messages that kept coming from the planet. Her face was sad as she listened to the strange voices. The Vorthak language sounded like singing, but now it was full of crying and fear. Dane told the captain that the aliens were begging for help. Their leaders said that hundreds of people were dying every day. The disease made them very weak first, then they could not breathe, and finally their heart stopped beating. The Vorthak had never seen anything like it before. Captain Park ordered the ship to go faster toward the planet. He knew that every minute they waited meant more deaths. The Healing Dawn was the fastest medical ship that Earth had ever built. It could fly between stars in days instead of months. Dr. Choi Wook was in the laboratory preparing medicine for different kinds of alien bodies. He was the smartest doctor on the ship and could cure diseases that other doctors had never seen before. He had studied alien biology for 15 years and knew how to help almost any creature nurse. Yang Sora was getting the medical beds ready for patients. She was very gentle and kind. Even the most scared aliens felt safe when she took care of them. She had learned to speak 12 different alien languages, so she could comfort patients from many worlds. The ship also had engineer Nam Junho, who kept all the machines working perfectly. He could fix anything that broke and make the ship fly faster when needed. He was young but very smart with computers and engines. All the crew members had volunteered for this dangerous mission. They could have stayed on Earth and lived comfortable lives, but they chose to help strangers instead. This was what made humans special in the galaxy. They cared about others even when it was hard. The Healing Dawn had been flying for 6 days since leaving Earth. The crew ate meals together and talked about their families back home. They showed each other pictures of their children and parents. They were like a family themselves. As they got closer to the planet, Hannah could see the Vorthak cities through the ship telescope. The buildings were round and tall like giant mushrooms. They were built from some kind of white stone that glowed softly in the sunlight. Gardens grew on top of every building, making the cities look like forests. But something was wrong. Many of the buildings were dark. No lights were shining from the windows. The gardens looked brown and dead. The streets that should have been full of people were empty. Captain Park used the communication system to talk to the Vorthak leaders. The alien voices were weak and tired. They said that half their people were already dead. The disease had spread to every city on the planet. Their hospitals were full, and they had run out of medicine. The captain promised that Earth would help them. He said the human doctors would work day and night to save as many lives as possible. The Vorthak leaders cried with happiness when they heard this. They had thought their people were going to die. Hannah felt proud to be human. At that moment, humans were the only species in the galaxy that would fly across space to help strangers without asking for anything in return. Other alien races fought wars and stole from each other, but humans tried to heal and help. The ship sensors showed that there were no other ships near the planet. This made Captain Park happy, because it meant they could work without interruptions. He ordered the crew to prepare for landing. They would set up a medical camp near the biggest Vorthak city. Dr. Wook loaded the emergency medical supplies into transport pods. These contained everything they needed to treat thousands of patients. The medicine could cure most diseases, and the surgery robots could save people who were badly hurt. Nurse Sora packed special food that sick aliens could eat and blankets to keep them warm. She also brought toys for the alien children because she knew that being happy helped people get better. Faster. Engineer Junho checked all the ship systems to make sure everything was working perfectly. He wanted the medical equipment to have full power, so the doctors could save as many lives as possible. The healing dawn entered the planet atmosphere and began flying toward the surface. The sky was orange and purple with two suns shining brightly. Captain Park was very careful to land the ship gently, because he did not want to scare the sick aliens. As they landed near the Vorthak city, hundreds of aliens came out to meet them. The Vorthak looked like tall, thin humans, but their skin was light blue and they had 4 arms. Their eyes were big and golden and showed how grateful they were. The alien leaders bowed to Captain Park and Dr. Hana. They said that humans were heroes who came from the stars to save them. They had heard stories about human kindness but never believed them until now. Hana smiled and told them that helping others was what humans did best. She promised that her team would work without rest until the disease was gone. The Vorthak children looked at her with hope in their eyes. Captain Park made sure the ship weapons were turned off and the shields were set to protect mode only. He wanted the aliens to see that humans came in peace. This was a mercy mission, not a war. The crew began setting up their medical equipment outside the ship. The Vorthak watched in amazement as the human machines started working. Computers began scanning the sick people and robots mixed medicine automatically. Hana took a deep breath and looked around at all the sick aliens who needed help. This was the most important work she had ever done. She did not know that enemy ships were hiding in the dark space above, watching and waiting for the perfect time to attack. The conference room had grown so quiet that the soft hum of the air system seemed deafening. Admiral Kresh found himself staring at the human officers with a mixture of fear and fascination, as if seeing them clearly for the first time. The battle of Earth footage still played on the screen, showing impossible coordination between human ships that moved like parts of a single organism. "How is this possible?" Nara asked, her crystalline voice cracking. "No species can maintain this level of tactical precision under combat stress. No individual minds can coordinate so perfectly across such distances. That is because you are still thinking in terms of individual psychology," Colonel Minho replied. The humans in this battle were not fighting as individuals. They had temporarily given up their individual identities to become part of something larger. Yuto nodded slowly. Humanity calls it the collective state. When facing extinction-level threats, human beings can temporarily merge their consciousness into a shared tactical intelligence. Not a hive mind like the Nexus swarm, but something more like a temporary joining of wills focused on a single objective. The aliens stared at the footage in horror as they began to understand what they were seeing. Thousands of human minds working in perfect harmony. Each ship crew operating as part of a vast coordinated intelligence. The tactical movements were not just precise. They were supernatural. Admiral Kresh voice was barely audible. "How many humans can do this? All of them," Yuto replied simply, "under the right conditions. When everything they love is threatened, when extinction is the only alternative, when they choose to surrender their individual selves for the greater good, every human has the potential to join the collective state." The screen showed human ships moving in formations that defied physics, ships that should have been destroyed by enemy fire, somehow anticipating attacks and moving out of the way. Ships coordinating attacks from opposite sides of the battle space with timing so perfect it seemed like magic. "The hegemony final transmission before their fleet was destroyed," Yuto said quietly, "was a single word, repeated over and over: impossible." He turned off the display and faced the assembled officers. "For 15 years, the galaxy has dismissed human military capabilities because you have been measuring us by your own standards. You assume that our lack of natural weapons makes us weak, that our emotional nature makes us unpredictable, that our individual psychology makes us easy to understand." Admiral Kresh's voice was barely audible. "We were wrong, completely wrong." Yuto confirmed. Human military doctrine is not based on superior technology or natural advantages. It is based on our ability to transcend our normal limitations when faced with extinction. We can fight like berserkers when hopeless courage is needed. We can fight like machines when perfect precision is required. And we can fight like gods when the survival of everything we love is at stake. The silence that followed was profound, broken only by the soft sound of alien officers shifting uncomfortably in their seats. The implications of what they had learned were staggering. The legends you mocked Yuto continued the stories of impossible last stands and heroes who defied overwhelming odds. They are not mythology, they are training manuals. For thousands of years, humanity has been perfecting the art of transformation under pressure. Every story of heroic sacrifice, every tale of victory against impossible odds, every legend of ordinary people becoming extraordinary, is a lesson in how to weaponize the human spirit. Captain Nara finally found her voice. Are you telling us that humans are capable of anything, that there are no limits to what you can do when threatened? Yuto's smile was gentle but terrifying. I am telling you that humanity's greatest military asset is not our weapons, our tactics, or our technology. It is our willingness to become something beyond human when the situation demands it. And the most frightening part from your perspective is that we are getting better at it. Lieutenant Colonel Deho stood up, his expression serious. The children born after the hegemony war show even greater potential for these transformations. They are learning from an early age how to access these altered states of consciousness. Our military academies now teach courses that your species would consider impossible. What kind of courses? Captain Wanho asked from the back of the room. How to surrender individual identity for collective action. How to ignore pain and fear. How to transform love into tactical advantage. How to die well when death serves a purpose. Deho replied. Each new generation of humans becomes more capable of these transformations, more willing to use them when necessary. Admiral Kresh forearms were shaking. Now you are describing a species that becomes something else entirely under pressure. A species that can choose to stop being individuals and become a force of nature. That is exactly what we are. Yuto confirmed. And we are teaching our children to be even better at it than we are. The alien officers looked around the room with new eyes, seeing the human representatives not as weak primitives but as something far more dangerous. The scars on Yuto's face no longer looked like marks of survival. They looked like badges of transformation. But there is something else you need to understand, Yuto, said his voice growing softer. These transformations come with a price. Every human who enters the berserker state, every soldier who joins the collective, every person who chooses to become something beyond normal human limitations pays a cost that your species could not comprehend. What kind of price? Nara whispered. The price of memory. Yuto replied, of innocence, of the ability to live normal, peaceful lives. Most humans who undergo these transformations are never quite the same afterward. They carry the weight of what they have done, what they have become, what they have seen. We do not use these abilities lightly because we know the cost. He walked slowly around the room, making eye contact with each alien officer. The humans you see here today have all paid that price. We have all crossed lines that cannot be uncrossed. We have all become something more and less than human. And we live with that knowledge every day of our lives. The room fell silent as the aliens began to understand that the humans among them were not just soldiers or officers. They were survivors of transformations that had fundamentally changed them. The galaxy sees us as weak. Yuto continued, because we cry, because we feel pain, because we form emotional attachments that can be exploited. But what the galaxy does not understand is that these very weaknesses are what make our transformations possible. You cannot weaponize love without first understanding love. You cannot transcend individual limitations without first being an individual. Captain Minho spoke quietly from his seat. The hegemony made one final mistake before their defeat. They assumed that because they had studied our transformations, they could create artificial versions in their own soldiers. They tried to copy our berserker state, our collective consciousness, our willingness to sacrifice. What happened? Nara asked. It drove them insane. Yuto replied, Human consciousness is adapted for these transformations through millions of years of evolution. Other species' minds are not. When the hegemony tried to force their soldiers into human-like states of consciousness, the results were catastrophic. Mass psychosis, complete mental breakdown, entire units turning on each other. He gathered his papers and prepared to leave the podium. The hegemony learned this lesson too late. I hope the rest of the galaxy is wiser. As the scarred veteran walked back to his seat, every alien officer in the room realized that their understanding of warfare of human nature and of their place in the galaxy had been fundamentally and permanently changed. The humans were not the weakest species in the Alliance. They were potentially the most dangerous species in the universe, and they were just getting started.